Hello, everybody. Welcome to the first e-commerce explored of our 2024-2025 season. It is awesome to be back with all of you, and we've got a brilliant topic. Obviously, it's the Black Friday topic lined up for you today, and we've also got brilliant panelists that we've just been nattering Black Friday already, so I know you are in for a treat. This session is already super popular. We've had over 180 people already sign up for it. Great to see some of you joining us live as well. Hello to you. So this session is all about helping you do Black Friday better, helping you do Black Friday in the right way for your brand. It's also your chance to get your questions answered, because I would love you to drive the conversation. We, all four of us on this, we've all got opinions about what you need to know, but we'd love to know what things you are sitting there going, I wish I knew how to do this Black Friday, or I wish I knew the answer to this question. On the right hand side of your screen, you will find a Q&A box very close to this video where you can add in your questions and send us messages as we go through this. You are welcome right now to let us know where you're dialing in from. Dialing in, showing her age. Hello, we've got Arsenis here from Greece, first European login of the day. Hello, great to have you here. So feel free to put some of that information in there right now, just so you get used to where it is. And I'll be trying to feed in your questions as we go through the session. And this whole series, the e-commerce explored series, is all about exploring the big topics in e-commerce with our excellent guests. We've got three excellent guests for you today. We've also got two brilliant sponsors, Genie and Lime Chat, who are sponsors of this particular session. So it's awesome to have Genie and Lime Chat involved in what we're doing here. And you can find out more about them. I think it's just below the video that you can see. Another European from Ireland. Dennis is here too, and Stacey in the not so tropical Wiltshire. Indeed. Cornwall is not so tropical today either. Looked tropical this morning, looked like it might be tropical, not turned out tropical. Anyway, so I can't do this session on my own. So we have some brilliant panelists who will be joining us shortly, including Rosie Bailey from Nibble, Jamie A. Lee, who's a e-commerce marketing brilliant person, and Iram Islik from Storyly. So get your questions ready for those. And then, of course, you've also got me, who I am Chloe Thomas. I'm the host of the Keep Optimizing and the e-commerce master plan podcasts. And I am also the editor-in-chief at eCommerce Tech, which is the home of the eCommerce Explore webinar series. Apparently, we currently have all of the UK not being tropical. So congrats to anyone who's not in the UK and is somewhere tropical at the moment. But we cannot do this without our panelists. So let's get rid of the slides and let's bring them up on the stage. Hello, everybody. Great to have you here. Please, could you tell the audience a little bit more than I did about you, who you are, who you work for, and how you're helping people with Black Friday? Iram, we'll start with you and then we'll go around the screen.
Yes, of course. Thanks for the introduction, Chloe, and it's a pleasure to be here. Very excited. So I'm Iram. Basically, I'm joining from Storyly as the head of marketing. Before Storyly, I was actually working in big FMCG companies like Unilever and Nestle, and later, 7 years ago, I joined the MarTech industry, and now I'm leading the marketing team here at Storyly. Storyly is basically a pioneering content experience platform enabling brands to create compelling in-app and web experiences that would inspire, hopefully, discovery to purchase actions. And we are very much passionate about bringing the full value of your own platforms by bringing in very well-known formats from social when it comes to content experiences. And hopefully I will be speaking a lot about that today. And I have been also working a lot on BFCM. So yeah, quite excited about sharing all that.
Yeah, so like the retailers, some of the retailers start on it straight after one. A lot of them are starting on it now. Those of us in the content space have been a little bit obsessed with it for a couple of months now. What are we going to do this year? What's it going to look like? So yeah, totally get that. Jamie, please let the audience know a bit more about you.
Hi, Chloe. Thanks for having me. So my background has really been in the hypergrowth space within e-commerce and marketing for the last 15 years. Started off really in more established brands like Nike, Walmart, EA, and Sony, and really leading a lot of what Black Friday, Cyber Monday was back in the day, and then also through emerging brands like Everlane and Vital Proteins here in the US, and really thinking about how to get scrappy for this big moment. And currently, I'm working with even smaller brands across portfolio companies as an e-commerce advisor at Stripes and Starshot Ventures. So really thinking, if we have very little budget, how do we really make some noise across this Super Bowl moment for retailers and brands?
I think this session being all about Black Friday and profits, we could have gone, how do you do a scrappy Black Friday? How do you bootstrap? How do you get the most out of what you're doing? So loving that you're bringing that to this session, Jamie. Great to have you here. Last but not least, we've got Rosie from Nibble.
That's so cool. The idea of a bootstrap Black Friday. I'm going to steal that line, Chloe.
Please do.
So my name's Rosie. I'm the CEO and co-founder at Nibble. Nibble is an AI negotiation platform. At negotiation, people say, why on earth do I need that? Well, we mostly replace normal promotions you see on e-commerce, so voucher codes or blanket discounts, with a one-on-one negotiated discount. And the advantage of that is it's more engaging, so it converts better, but it also protects your margins. So we do a lot around Black Friday, talking to our customers about how can you recreate the traditional 70% off banner and make it into something that's a bit more on brand and a bit more one-to-one.
See, everyone, amazing lineup of guests with really different but cohesive perspectives on how you can make this a brilliant Black Friday. Regular people who join us, who've joined us before for these e-commerce explored sessions, will know I like to start with a slide deck. I know it's a panel, and we're going to start with a slide deck, but that slide deck has on it, let's go here so we can see you all a little bit better, has got key statements that I would like to put or complete the sentences for our panelists. And the statements are generally things that I believe, and the panelists are welcome to disagree with me, to build on it, to twist it, to say whatever they want in response to this. So the first perspective of mine is that I think this has probably always been the case, but I think it is more so in 2024 than ever before, which is that the only sensible approach to Black Friday is a profit first approach. If you are not putting your profit targets high up on your Black Friday strategy, you are getting it wrong, would be my perspective. Jamie, I might come to you first on this one, because you were talking about doing it scrappy, and then I called that bootstrapping. Is this where you start? Is it profit first, profit before sales volume?
It's such an interesting question that you pose, Chloe, because I would say long-term profit is imperative, because Black Friday, Cyber Monday isn't really the be-all end-all for Q4, but thinking of it as more of a launch pad for the next year. And so what I mean by a long-term focus, but maybe not profit as the hero piece, is thinking about bringing in not the cheapest customers, but really your most valuable customers. So there's the notion that, hey, let's just think about volume at all costs, whether it's revenue or types of customers, but that's really going to hurt you in the long run, whether it's this year or next year, if that's your sole approach. So the way I look at it is really in three ways. Thinking about like, what is the right offer that drives a bigger basket? So in past lives, we've done a buy more, save more. So the more you get, the bigger discount you get as well. So that's a big incentive for the consumer to drive trial across the categories and then boost AOV. And then thinking about product focus as well. So what products are going to bring you the highest margins? You can discount them, but how do you think about margins in your product selection for the offer? And then really thinking about targeted personalized offers to existing customers too. I know this is really a moment for new customers, but how can we get really scrappy in the sense that let's use email, SMS, social, and target your consumers to say, hey, if we know you're going to likely purchase at full price, maybe we'll just give you a 15% off offer off of a big basket size instead. So I would say definitely having profit first approach for a long-term view is critical, but still knowing that this is a volume and revenue play for the moment.
I like those extra definitions, the long-term profitability, because I think that's one thing that people so frequently get wrong with Black Friday is they just go more without considering the value of the customers they're bringing in. You know, and you end up with these big spikes and you never get anybody to buy again. Iram, you were nodding away during that. So what's your take? Would you agree with Jamie, or
No.
would you take us another direction?
I actually agree. I mean, a couple of things really resemble to what I thought when I first saw this sentence. I mean, you should be in Black Friday for the long haul, I believe. It's not just a couple of days discount period where you try to nail the highest sales revenue, because eventually you can end up with hurt brand image, which is basically something that you don't want to end up with. So I was thinking about like profit first, yes, but underneath that you have to have a value first approach. So you need to be customer centric. You need to be obsessed with your customers. So obviously you will need to attract new customers, but in order to consider this profit to be a long haul, you also need to consider existing customers and how you can actually benefit them as well. So this might include like exclusive offers for your loyal customers, or higher, let's say, higher return campaigns for your loyal customers, or exclusive offers for them, early access to your Black Friday campaigns for them. So all of this should be included to this profit first approach as a value first attitude, so that you can actually win in the long run, instead of just nailing for those 4 days and then try to bring back your brand image afterwards.
We're clearly going to have to get into existing customer versus new customer later on in this webinar. That is written big on my sheet. Anyone who's got specific questions about that, please do fire them in, and we will get to those later on. Rosie, your perspective on this, because as you said in your intro, Nibble is all about trying to help people improve their margins. So is this the approach you'd advise people to take?
I think the honest truth is we find that people, our clients, our retail friends, it depends, right? At the end of the day, retail is a trading game. And if you have stock, it's all very well us sitting on these webinars and giving you kind of the approach that looks good on paper, but you know better than we do whether you've got stock to clear, and this is a period of heightened traffic. So I do think a tactical approach is important, and I think that heightened traffic is often less loyal. We've seen a lot of opportunities, not perhaps in the exact 4 days of Black Friday, where honestly it might be quite hard to hold on to that profit first approach. But in the run up and in the post Black Friday period, I think that's when that profit first approach. So we had a client last year who knew that they would have to do a deep discount around the Black Friday weekend. So they reserved specific stock to do that. And then all their other stock, they used the heightened traffic through November to offer selected discounts. So if you dwelt on the page a long time, if you revisited a long time, if you came to them from a TikTok video with an influencer, you were rewarded by a deal that you felt was unique to you, that wasn't obvious on the website. However, that allowed them to kind of reward that traffic, but not to destroy their profitability, because those offers were slightly more muted. And then they switched to something slightly different. They made sure the offer didn't conflict for the 4 days of Black Friday, which was probably not highly profitable, but good for gaining new customers. And then I think the post-purchase flow is another opportunity, which I'm sure we can come back to, where I think you can put the focus back on profits. I would love it all to be about profit first. I find Black Friday quite frustrating. But I think we've got to acknowledge people have targets.
You and me both. But it is that whole, if there's a load of stuff in the warehouse that has to be cleared out and turned back into cash, if you're doing that in the right way, I think it's still a level of profit target, but yeah, it's not. I get very excited about that example you gave with the very tailored different things for different people from different traffic sources. But that's giving us loads of stuff to talk about later on. Anyone who wants us particularly to pick up on any of those, please do send us a question, and we'll be guided by you into which bits we get deepest into. But I want to get super practical now with all of you. Let's really drive into the core stuff here. What is your top tip for a successful Black Friday? Who fancies going first to complete this sentence? No pressure, anybody. Rosie.
Don't go too early. You can never switch it off once you've started. And if you are under pressure to go early, start making some contingency plans now of things you can do early, which aren't the full Black Friday rush. That would be my top tip, because once you've opened the floodgates, you've opened the floodgates.
We've just finished putting together our Keep Optimizing. So one of my podcast Black Friday Top Tips episodes that comes out on the 25th of September, for anyone who wants to note that down. And one of the guests in there, which I think was Gisela from Genie, she was a marketing agency. She was suggesting that you go super early, but not with Black Friday. So you know how like people have run those sign up now for our Black Friday deals. She was saying don't run a sign up for Black Friday, sign up for something else like a, like a viral giveaway where you enter your email address to get to get entries into the prize draw, and then you get other people to enter into the prize draw, and you build up your Black Friday email list with that, which I think it's easy to think Black Friday is Black Friday, but actually there can be lots of things post and pre that go on around it. So I like that tip, Rosie. Put it off. Iram, Jamie, who wants to go next with your top tip for Iram?
I can, if you like. I mean, I would say be obsessed with the customer journey that you provide in your online store, because I mean, there are huge budgets that are spent on driving traffic. Let it be new users, let it be your loyalists, or let it be your lapsed users. Whoever comes, they might come with a wish list in their minds already to try to discover the things that they have in that list, but they're also coming to be inspired. And this we see a lot in our customers as well. So our own selves as the end users, our habits are changing. The way we are inspired are changing. The way we are discovering new things, new items to purchase is changing, thanks to everything going on Instagram, on TikTok, with social shopping, social commerce. So all of these things are changing the way people shop online. And when they end up in a store which is completely static, which has like a blanket of discounts but nothing else to offer, it would be frustrating. So that's why I think, again, as being customer obsessed, personalize that journey as much as possible, but all at the same time, enrich it with content as much as possible. For instance, we even starting from now, we see our customers putting on countdowns to big offers that are coming up, interactive quizzes that they ask what they want to see the most, or even gamification like games where they ask their customers about like their preferences, trying to classify them in an engaging way. So I would say we need to be, I would advise to be obsessed with the customer journey that you have on your site in order to ensure that all the payment that you did, all the amount of budget that you spend for the traffic is paid off, and you will have higher conversions.
Love that. The whole piece around it. It's kind of like, what do we need to fix for Black Friday? Everything. It's like everything needs to be fixed. Everything needs to be on point. And it's almost like we spend the rest of the year getting everything slick and ready to make that the best it can be. Jamie, your top tip for a successful Black Friday, please.
Yes. So, Chloe, it's actually very similar to what your colleague or contact had recommended about starting early, and not the sale piece, but starting prep early. And what I mean by that is in September, think of it as your rallying month. So how do you engage your circle of influence, or your affiliates, your ambassadors, your existing customers? And then for instance, if you're engaging your influencers or affiliates saying like, hey, here's what's up, here's what's new, here's how you can get engaged with Black Friday, Cyber Monday, here's a really interesting challenge or offer that you can think about or think through. And then for your existing customers, thinking about re-engaging them through email and SMS, particularly those who may have lapsed or are on the verge of lapsing, so that you can contact them during critical moments in November and in December. And then also, as you're looking up and re-engaging with your customers, look at what they're saying about your brand on TikTok, on Reddit, on ratings and reviews, just to get a pulse of like what's on their mind. How can you curate messaging later in the season to relate back to them? And then I would say this isn't necessarily running your Black Friday, Cyber Monday offer early, but how can you incentivize some sort of orders in October? So maybe it's a targeted promo or something kind of fun, like a gift with purchase, but starting to drum up momentum, engaging consumers in a real way to then say, okay, they're highly engaged. Come November, we're ready to rock.
It is one of those things that the e-commerce industry, and I come from the mail order industry, the catalog originally, and the catalog industry is like the hottest prospect we've got is the person who's just bought, which when you think of it that way, it's like, well, getting an order in October is a no-brainer if you want to improve your Black Friday sales. But in the e-commerce space, we're like, well, if they bought in October, there's no way they're going to buy in November. So we couldn't possibly, it's like this whole piece just often doesn't seem to fit in the e-commerce world. So I love that you've brought that one up, Jamie. Right, I'm going to jump through a couple of our slides because we had this one, which I think we've already kind of covered how long your Black Friday should be, with completely different answers from different members of our panel. And then I think we've probably done this one as well. So I want to do this one and then we'll go freeform. So, audience, no questions yet. How come? Surely you've got questions you want us to answer. Do fire those in. Although we've got a whole load of talking points from your answers so far. So we're not desperate for your questions, but I'd love to know what you want us to talk about. So I want to ask the three of you this one, which those of us on the video, we got a sneak preview of this beforehand of Rosie's answer. So I'm going to come to Rosie first. The question I'm getting asked about Black Friday the most at the moment is, what is it brands really want to know, Rosie?
How do I optimize for margin and loyalty is what I'm getting a lot of. And the two are quite similar. The interesting one about optimize for margin is I'm seeing quite a lot of clients driving traffic to their website with something. It's a hero product on Google Shopping that's at the best value for money that they can afford to give. But then the way they drive margin is once you're on the website, the customer journey is talking all about the upsell and the opportunity to trade from that entry-level product to something that's, a little tiny bit more premium, but you get a better offer on the premium one. But of course, they've got a little bit more margin to play with. So I think there's a lot you can do in your ranging, in what you choose to make your kind of traffic driver and what you choose to try and encourage people to buy into. We do a lot where Nibble isn't visible and there is no discount on a higher price product, but it comes in after a dwell time to nudge you over the line, because 4 or 5% off $1,000 product is still a better sale than somebody coming in at the entry level $800 product for a consumer electronics or a piece of furniture or some sort of luxury goods.
Nice. Okay, so we've got definite profitability zoning there from Rosie, both on the long term with the loyalty and the short term with the margin protection. Iram, what are you finding people asking you about at the moment?
I also ask a lot of questions, by the way. As a marketer myself, we're preparing a lot of content around this. I was just thinking about what I also ask and what we hear from our customers. But I think from my perspective, especially from a marketing perspective, the thing that gets the most is how can I proceed through this Black Friday in a successful manner without harming my brand? Because there are lots of brands or retailers out there which discount or this Black Friday frenzy is not really fitting with that brand's persona. So how can they also benefit from this period of time? Because there is an obvious expectation from even their own customers. How does this Black Friday season will come up in those brands? So in that case, what can they do in their narrative to ensure that their brand communication, their brand message is not harmed, as well as they can also end up with a great revenue? So, what we mostly hear also, when we ask this question to brands or experts, or what we hear from our customers or what we advise is again, find a narrative that also fits with your brand's value proposition. As I say, value first approach. It could be like bundles that you offer to them. It could be, especially when it comes to loyal customers, like exclusive deals that they can enter into without feeling like their brand value is diminished. Or it could be like free shipment. It could also be something like that, with some gifting that will come later after they do their Black Friday purchase, even though they cannot deep discount, which would definitely hurt their overall brand image. So I guess this one really comes up a lot when it comes to brands who are not very suitable with discounts or Black Friday phenomena. So these are the things that I think I hear the most.
I'm having flashbacks to this version of this webinar last year where we got deep into the world of bundling and alternative discounts. So we'll make sure you all get a link to that afterwards if you want to go and check it out. It's on the YouTube channel, but stay here for this live one first, obviously. Jamie, what question are people asking you the most about Black Friday?
Yes, it's interesting. I mentioned it earlier, but folks are asking how they can use AI to impact Black Friday, Cyber Monday. And my take on that is we should already be thinking about AI embedded in our e-commerce and marketing process throughout the year, not necessarily a more bespoke way during the moment. However, Rosie also brought up a really interesting point earlier that compared to Black Fridays of say 2023, 2022, because we have the power of AI specifically in the marketing and creative realm to churn out maybe hundreds of creative that would take weeks before and maybe takes a day today, that can really help with testing and efficiency and margin. So thinking about it in that way, what can you apply today from an AI perspective? So can it help you generate more creative? Can it allow you to better A/B test into stronger performing marketing for the day? Or things like CX, for instance, if you want an FAQ about discounting about the moment, that can supercharge what answers are needed from CX at the time, or even help you schedule your campaign, your social posts, and help generate a lot of creative there. So those are some easy, low-hanging fruit ways to use AI in your marketing for Black Friday, Cyber Monday, but really thinking about how are you embedding that in your e-commerce strategy, even upstream and throughout the year.
It is fascinating how most of the AI that's delivering in e-commerce is built into existing tools, and it's about efficiency and scaling stuff rather than something new a lot of the time. It like enables us to do more rather than something new. But I have to go. Rosie, I was going to come to you anyway because you are the AI queen on this podcast, on this this webinar. So what do you think? Do you think we should be using Black Friday as the opportunity to unleash AI in our business, or should we just be using it as we're doing it already?
I think you're right. AI as an efficiency tool is here. Copilot or built into your Microsoft, built into your Shopify, built into your existing tools and platforms, built into your kind of creative, right? Like it can just. Unfortunately, I see this as a sort of way of doing more of the same thing. And I think you will get some efficiency benefits, but I think you'll also make your life more complicated, right? I actually think the efficiency benefits won't be as significant as people hope, because I think they'll just, where they used to test 3 different email marketing taglines, you will now test 300 and you won't think anything of it, but you will, it won't be efficient, right? It won't be.
Yeah.
And I think the thing that I would like to see more of, which I think we're on the cusp of, is AI can do 2 things that we couldn't do before. It can be emotive, as in it can be emotionally relevant, not emotionally aware, but emotionally relevant. I'm picking my words extremely carefully. It can look like it's giving an emotionally relevant answer. And the result of that is extremely engaging, and the opportunity for your brand to create a relationship with the customer is just completely different now. And then the corollary from that is you don't need to talk to your customers in bundles anymore. You don't need to say, all of you look about the same, we're going to talk to you this way. You actually have the opportunity to interrogate your data right down to one-to-one engagement. And that, and maybe I'm a little bit future looking, right? Maybe a lot of people aren't quite ready for that now, but that is where the big companies are making big investments. And that is why you are seeing announcements like Currys making an OpenAI partnership and so on and so forth. This is where they're really looking, is they're saying, how can I completely transform how I engage with my customers? So every single one has a one-on-one relationship like you would when you walk into a store. Yeah, so you can tell I'm quite passionate about that opportunity, but exactly how we're going to nail it is TBC. And I'd love to hear, frankly, in the comments if someone feels like they're nailing that in any way other than with a smart AI negotiation, which obviously is a possibility, right? But I think there are huge potentials for changing how we engage with people, make it much more personal.
But not this Black Friday.
Possibly not.
Possibly
I
not.
I could probably do you a deal.
Okay, we've had some questions in from the audience, so we're going to come to the first of those, which is from Gulbahar. Apologies if I pronounced that badly. Where to start planning our Black Friday efforts? And I'm going to shoehorn into this a topic which we strayed into earlier, which is existing customer versus new customer. Is that where you start with the customer segments? Do you start with the stock in the warehouse? Do you start with your marketing channels? Where do you start with the P&L for the whole thing? Where do you begin the Black Friday planning effort. And Gulbahar, if I've completely misunderstood your question, please comment again and we'll clarify as we go through. So who fancies taking on this one? Oh, stony
can go.
silence. Okay, go for it.
I was trying to unmute myself. Sorry.
Sorry.
I mean, I started the customer obsessed part, so maybe I can just elaborate on that, because I feel like everything needs to start with, I mean, even your marketing campaigns, everything needs to start with your customer. So you need to understand what your customer needs. You need to maybe go back and look at your data in terms of like what offers in the past, not just Black Friday is just like 4 days, but throughout the whole year, you have all those signals coming your way from social, from your own store, what worked well, what didn't work well, what kind of channels you can reach out to your customers. Therefore, you can actually strategize based on that to your marketing mix. So I think you should start with your own data on your customers, what they want, where they stand, their lifetime value, etc. And then look back on the product offers that you're planning to put on to the market in Black Friday. And then comes, I think, the marketing planning, because then you would know who you are going to appeal to, with what, and through which channels. But if you don't start with your customers, I feel like it will be like you won't be able to stand out from the clutter, because you're not the only one trying to approach to them. It's a huge competition out there trying to attract people to their own store. So that's why you need to be customer obsessed in order to find that significant distinction you can offer to them, so that they would be attracted to your message, your product, your bundle, your offer, and come to your store to make that purchase. So I would say start with your customer.
Okay, Rosie.
I think there is an opportunity to make your Black Friday offer start with your brand. And the famous one here is Patagonia, who famously opts out of Black Friday because it is so counter to their brand values of wanting you to treasure your jacket. And they, for anyone who isn't aware, but they've famously had campaigns, don't buy that jacket on Black Friday, because they want to emphasize that these jackets are made to last. You don't need another one. And that is so core to their brand values. And I think that one's a very famous one. But a slightly more kind of close to home version would be somebody like Next, a major clothing retailer in the UK. They're very clear about when they go on sale and when they don't go on sale. And so in that sense, their brand value is about their customer trust and the customer feeling like, I know when I need to rush to get a deal and when I'm going to get everyday good value. And I think you will know deep down exactly what your core customer proposition and core brand value is. And I think the opportunity to try and knit that together with a Black Friday, the Black Friday is going to deliver you lots of traffic. That traffic is going to buy into your brand values, otherwise it wouldn't be on your website in the first place. So try and bring the two things together. Now, the Patagonia route, I'd say, was extremely brave and probably too far for the majority of brands who are listening to this. But is there something that you can do that goes towards that journey without completely shooting yourself in the foot and not making the sale?
Want to jump in. I fully agree, because it just brought to my mind the Ray example, also the opt-out side during Black Friday. It's quite the same. I think it's very bold and not everyone can do that. But I try to maybe say a similar thing by, when you look at your customers, you would also know if they would be also willing to be involved in that Black Friday season, or if they are not actually willing to do so, so that you won't be harming your brand as well. But I fully agree. And they're really brave
to
too.
A very small brand, and this is extremely niche, and they made furnishings like beds and mattresses for yachts. Get this? Very niche product, right? And they kind of A/B tested Black Friday, and the one year they did a normal Black Friday, and the next year they basically ignored it. And they said all that happened is for their product, Black Friday just meant the sales peaked around a certain period, and when they didn't run it, they made the same sales, but it was over a sort of 2.5 month period. And of course, from their point of view, as a small business with logistics and warehousing and issues to consider, they found the profitability between the two was very similar. The opportunity between the two was very similar, and the headache of not doing Black Friday was much, much better. Now, obviously, they sell a very premium product to probably a very price insensitive consumer, but it's just an example of somebody really looking at, as you say, their brand values and their customer and working out, don't necessarily follow the flow. You can do it your way.
Oh, 100% you can do it your way. Jamie, you are currently helping lots of brands work this bit out. Where do you start with the planning of the Black Friday efforts? For you, is it customer? Is it brand? Is it all about segmentation? Is it about channels? Where does it start for you?
Yeah, so I have an adjacent answer to this. I would say it's really an interdependent approach to all three. So brand, thinking about the customer and also the P&L. And I actually like to start with the P&L first. So really looking at the financial viability. So like what discounts, what's the max discount we can actually take to hit our profit targets? What's the daily average run rate looking like for us? Do we need to 5x our daily sales? Do we need to 10x our daily sales? And then how do we then work back to say, okay, do we have the inventory to support it? So do we almost have the P&L infrastructure, as I like to call it, to then enable us to then say, okay, the next step for me is then, okay, what are our consumers signaling to us? So what do we know? What products do we know they like? What have they told us in October or leading up to the day? What discounts do they resonate with? Does bundling work? Is it a gift with purchase? And then looking at that last but not least important filter of, okay, what offer, what messaging or campaign can we bring to life that is still within the guardrails and is brand right for us? So I think it really is an interplay of all three facets. But for me personally, I think with that putting that commercial hat on, I like looking at it from a P&L lens first, then going to customer, then to brand next.
Love that. Cool. There you go, guys. A full-on answer from someone who is in the depths of doing this right now with lots of people. Now, we've had another question in from the audience. Guys who are watching, if you want to ask us more questions, we've got time. So get them flying in. But we've had a much more, cool. Gulbahar says, thank you. So well done, everybody. Good answers. We've had a super practical answer in from Jack O'Sullivan, who says, how do you manage consumers using affiliate codes and branded search and the crossover here, which is a forever problem? Rosie, did you want to come in first on this one?
Yes, I'm not an expert in this area, and but I have experience from one of my clients, which I can pass on, and I don't know if it's too specific, and not general enough, but just one of my clients has exactly this, and they invest heavily in affiliates, and they have a very strong relationship. The affiliates are extremely important to their traffic, but by the time that traffic gets to their website, they honestly can't afford to give further discounts. Because they've invested it all in the affiliates, so it's the advertised price at that stage. And also it makes sense because that's why somebody's clicked the link, right? Like that's why they've got them there. And so what they do is they actually split the traffic, and because they're a Nibble client, they use Nibble to give special offers to traffic that hasn't cost them quite such a lot to get to the website. And the advantage of something like Nibble, and there will be other options, things like pop-ups or pop-ins or things that aren't part of the absolute fabric of the product detail page, then you can offer somebody a personalized deal if they come from a less expensive traffic source. So it's a very, I will be honest, it's a very specific answer, but what they do is they use Nibble, they suppress Nibble if the traffic comes from somewhere where they can't afford to offer an additional discount.
No, I don't think that's too niche at all, Rosie. I think that's good. Thank you for that one. Jamie, I'm guessing you've got thoughts on this one too.
Yeah, if I understand this correctly, it's essentially looking at, okay, if there's an overlap or if there's a tracking issue with affiliates plus branded search, how do we solve for this? Am I understand? I just want to make.
Yeah, I think it's the age old, or I would read it as being the age old. They're using an affiliate code and it's an old code, or they've come in via branded search and the affiliates are getting the money. So that's a whole attribution over paying too many channels for getting the sale, I reckon.
Yeah, which is a tricky one. I think there's a couple of approaches to this. I think one is, how do you tighten your affiliate program management So because sometimes affiliates will target more branded search keywords, that drives up your costs and then the efficiency of paid search, and then it gets pretty muddy in terms of tracking. So I think some foundational pieces is making sure that you have an affiliate agreement that specifies terms that, hey, affiliates can't actually bid on your branded keywords. So it almost eliminates that risk. And then ensuring you have good affiliate monitoring tools to make sure whether or not they are bidding on branded keywords. So tools such as Partnerize or Impact are some partners that I've worked with in the past, or Brand Verity. So just a couple of suggestions. And then also, I know it's an imperfect science, but making sure you have good UTM tracking with codes on affiliates can help you suss out whether or not it's getting double counted within the branded search world too.
Yeah, I think I would say as well, it's like, how much is this actually a real problem and how much is this a problem of perception? I find like brands can often get, I'm paying twice for this one order, so I'm going to rewrite all the rules and make everyone's life really difficult. When actually, the size of the Venn diagram of overlap is teeny tiny in terms of the bigger picture. So I think take a step back, take the emotion out of it and work out what is actually a problem. And there is, I think Social Snowball have got a tool for this as well. That is all about, especially on the influencer side, stopping affiliate code misuse. Iram, something you come across or not so much in your
Honestly, I was
profile?
just going to say Social Snowball myself because, I mean, as we are also doing a BFCM ebook right now, we asked them about their top tip, and I remember them saying something like how you can actually incentivize and attract creators this Black Friday season, which is a huge competition also. But honestly, it's out of my depth, so I shouldn't go more further into this.
That's cool. Well, look, Jack, I hope that's helped you out. Anyone else who's got questions for us, please do send those in. We've still got a little bit of time to do them. One thing which you guys were talking about earlier that we haven't really delved into was, and this is especially key when you're talking about profitable Black Friday, is turning those Black Friday customers into a repeat customer, which I feel like the post-purchase piece is, it's like you might set up one extra email in the sequence or something, but you go, oh, I'm just going to ignore that till the beginning of December. Whereas actually you want that to be ready right from now because it begins with the parcel and so on and so forth, in my opinion. What steps would you take to make sure that post-purchase piece is doing its damnedest to make sure you get those repeat sales from those customers, so they turn in, you've done everything you can on the front end to bring the right customers in to your Black Friday. How do you then make sure you turn them into long-term prospects? Anyone want to jump in immediately on this one, or shall I pick on Jamie? I might pick on Jamie.
Jump in. I know we've spoken a lot about kind of retargeting and ensuring your email best practices, thinking about engaging those people in October, November. But I would say the most important thing is once you bring in all this traffic during Black Friday, Cyber Monday, how do you give them an A+ experience when they're shopping? So that means nailing a lot of the basics around promo infrastructure. So for instance, website and performance, are you ensuring that your site speed is what you want it to be? Knowing that your volume of traffic may be 5x, 10x your daily rate. Inventory management and logistics. So do you have the inventory? Are you not selling out when the consumer actually wants to make a purchase? Are you delivering upon your committed shipping time? If you have 2-day shipping, are you actually delivering on that promise? And are you giving them the product that they ordered? And then customer service readiness. If there's issues with the order or delivery, are you there for them as a brand? So I'd say the fundamental piece to ensuring these consumers come back is that they have an exceptional experience with you during Black Friday, Cyber Monday. And sometimes the volume of traffic and individuals, brands aren't quite prepared for that. So I'd say making sure you have that checklist settled would be the first thing I would get after.
I don't know whether this is something everybody does, but I loved hearing about it from a friend of mine who's a CRM manager for a big beauty brand. And she said she had about 100, I'm sorry it didn't work messages pre-drafted for specific scenarios where it didn't quite work to plan. And I just thought it's simple, but it's true. It's scenario planning, isn't it? Like, hopefully it won't break, but if it does break, you want to try and preserve that customer relationship.
Well, so literally error messages
All
when the parcel didn't go
possible,
out on time, or just to fully.
just so you could pick from a menu, right?
Wow, that is so obvious and such a
I
clearly
didn't
such
know
a
whether
good thing
everyone
to
did
do.
it, but I hadn't heard anyone talk about it before. So
They should. They definitely should. What Jamie's answer made me think about as well was your example, Rosie, of the super yacht mattress people with their spike, because I'm sure from what you were saying, one of the things which would have fed into their thoughts were we're not giving a good customer experience operationally when we get that big spike, which is, and what our business is based on reputation, because it's one yacht owner telling another yacht owner, one crew telling another crew. So we're better off not doing it because we can keep to our own standards rather than let them slide during that period. Iram, your thoughts on the post-purchase piece, which I think is where content really comes into its own,
Yeah,
building on your earlier point.
I think you need to give the voice to your customers. Even if they're frustrated, you need to hear back from them. And I feel like any channel of interactive communication with them that asks them questions about like their Black Friday experience, what they want to see next, or how they felt about the overall campaign period experience. And when you incentivize those returns also with maybe a, let's say, discount in the subscription fee or the free shipment for their next purchase, or even a small gift to be sent to their addresses right after they answer these questions for them, because these are all data points that you can also evaluate yourself in, and afterwards the next year you can get yourself ready, or you can just change your approach because if you are not really performing well, it means that you need to take some measures. So I think that content is very much important at this stage, and you need to also make it easy for them to provide you with feedback. Sometimes emails can get lost, sometimes SMSs can be too cumbersome to get back to, but if they come back to your store, you can also ask them like quiz it again, like open-end questions about how their experience was in a nutshell. And then you can, for instance, we have this AI tool that analyzes the answers that comes to those open-end questions. We always advise our customers to always position that content piece after their big campaigns, big launches, big discounts, etc., so that they can ask their customers how their experience was, period. And later on, they can just get that analysis with AI, see if it's positive, negative, and afterwards they can actually adjust their campaigns, adjust their approach, adjust their customer service accordingly.
Sorry, Rosie, go on.
The other, a completely different post-purchase experience that I heard from a brand that sold like clever homewares. It wasn't Lakeland, but the stuff that really works, the thing that cleans down but the back of the radiator, or the storage box that stays hot and cold and stuff like that. And what they said is their best post-purchase experience was just selling another one exactly the same. And I wonder if that works for more brands than you think. It probably doesn't work for like buying a new car. But maybe it works for more brands than you think, right? Like I was buying a piece of jewelry as a gift last Christmas for a godchild, and they said, would I like one exactly the same? And I thought, oh gosh, I think my husband's going to want to give the same gift to his godchild. And it may sound counterintuitive that someone wants two of exactly the same piece of jewelry, but in that situation, it worked really brilliantly.
It is frequently said in the world of, when you put those upsell, cross-sell apps on the back end of a website where they allow you to add something else to the same basket, you've checked out and here's an amazing deal. 9 times out of 10, the SKU that works at that point is the SKU they've just bought. You've just bought the doormat, have another doormat. You've just bought the jewelry, have another jewelry.
You've got a back door and a front door, why not?
I could go off on one about doormats. Used to work for a doormat brand, but I will resist that. But actually, that was a terrible example, because I will go off on it for a second, because the average house in the UK only has 1.2 doors. So actually, the chances of getting the second sale are actually quite low in doormat land. But why not try at that point in time? Anyway, before I go off on one about doormats, which none of us need, we have covered a whole heap of ground, some brilliant ground about creating the right Black Friday, about creating a profitable Black Friday. But final question to the three of you. What should the audience take away from this webinar? Is it something you want to double down on, something you've already talked about? Do you want to give us something new to think about? What's the key thing they should take away from this webinar to make sure they get a Black Friday put together and delivered that delivers what they need it to deliver for them, their brand, and their customers? Just a little question to end things with. Iram, what would you say?
Well, I will just probably summarize what I just said, but maybe in bolder statements. So
Cool.
be on brand, be customer obsessed, be value oriented, be in the Black Friday game for the long haul, not just focus on those 4 days. Be precise and consistent with your messaging in your own stores or cross-channel in your marketing channels. Be precise, consistent in pre, during, post Black Friday, and be obsessed with profiling your customers so that you can personalize your overall pre, during, post communication to them, and also have your own narrative so that you can actually differentiate from the rest, because everyone is in this, not even only e-com. I mean, we have clients from different, let's say, verticals like travel, like banks, even like airlines. So everyone is in this. So you need to find a way to differentiate yourself. And again, like ensure that everything is that you do would not harm your brand. So yeah, that would be my take.
Love that. Brilliant summary. Thank you, Iram. Jamie.
So I'm going to double down and then add something else. So I would say doubling down on the point that really making sure you're starting early in terms of prep and focusing on your most valuable consumers versus the highest volume of consumers, knowing that Black Friday, Cyber Monday is a launch pad for future profitable growth. And then I would say, as you think about profitable growth as well, use this opportunity to get creative and think outside the box. So thinking about, are there any complementary brands you might want to create a co-promotion with? That could help with your margins. You could co-sponsor, you could reach different growth audiences, and really also tapping into your ecosystem of your influencer and affiliate network. They can host various flash sales, reach to different audiences. So thinking differently about ways to hit profitable growth beyond your brand itself, but your full community.
I love that. And now is so the right time to be reaching out to the affiliates and the influencers and getting them on board. So it's brilliant. Thank you, Jamie. Rosie.
So I'm going to talk about data, because I don't think we've talked about data too much. And data, I know, is quite daunting because most people's data systems aren't exactly spitting out the information they want. And it can be a bit of a time black hole. So I would suggest choose one behavioral insight that you can now track and follow. Track that for its data and its insights. Use those insights to give that customer a better experience, whether that's a targeted promotion or tailored messaging through your CMS system. And then use this opportunity where you'll have lots of that data to deliver one improvement in terms of personalized messaging and experience on your website.
Oh, I like that. Zone in and get one bit right rather than, the whole analytics thing can be, and data thing can just be overwhelming. Having just recorded a load of podcast episodes about it. Yeah, I love that advice. Thank you, Rosie. Well, Iram, Jamie, Rosie, thank you so much for being panelists in this session. It has been great getting your perspective on Black Friday. And I love the fact that every year Black Friday twists and turns and becomes something different. So I think we've done a really good guide to how to deal with it this year. For those of you out there watching, thank you very much for joining us. Got a couple of things to let you know before we end this session. First off, if you want more Black Friday advice, that podcast episode I mentioned earlier is going to be going live on Wednesday, the 25th of September. You can subscribe to Keep Optimizing, which is the podcast it's going out on, at keepoptimizing.com. So please do that if you want those top tips too. I've recently finished going through them all and recording my bit for it, so I know you're in for a treat if you join us for that session. Well, not join us for that session because it's a podcast. You can listen to whenever you want to once it's live, which will be the 25th of September. And then the other thing is, we'd love it if you joined us for the next one of the e-commerce explored. We've got two coming up. The 23rd of October, we'll be talking about team efficiency, which is, we like to cover some unusual topics on this show, and team efficiency is such a big thing. I know a lot of you are working at the moment. Hiring caps, you can't get more team members, you're being expected to do more, often with less budget. How do you do that? We are going to be talking about how to make your team more efficient, touching on certain elements of AI and automation inevitably. And I've got 3 brilliant guests who are going to be joining me for that one. So that's available for you to book onto right now, as is our cross-border growth. How do you increase your overseas sales, which we'll be doing in November. And at some point tomorrow, not quite live yet, will be our B2B session that we'll be doing in December, will be available for you to sign up to as well. You can get all of that by going to the coming up bit on the eCommerce Explored website or heading to webinar.ecommerceexplored.com. Finally, huge thanks to Jeannie and to Lime Chat for being the sponsors of this session. Huge thanks to all of you for joining us for this. And you will be getting the replay will be available within about an hour. So if you've watched this, you've gone, some of my team needs to do this, watching this be a great way to kick off our last minute Black Friday planning session, then you can do that in about an hour's time if you want to. But thank you all for joining us. Thanks hugely to the panelists, and we'll see you in the next eCommerce Explored session.